The night. Oh, well, you probably didn't know.
You guys are the one that's always
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you switch it around?
That big, not in your pageant days. No, but I just know like pageants, modeling. That's what they do. Before Zoe,
Why would you
before
do that?
shows, has had her hair.
You totally do.
I'm wearing it.
What year were you? What year were you?
It's better than.
Oh, so you're.
This is
you
honestly,
got
I used to have a
Dina.
phone.
Dina was after you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she and I did our.
Is he good?
We did it together in
There isn't.
9 year early. 89. What?
How do you mute this?
Oh,
No, just be quiet.
do you have a pen?
Thanks a lot.
Mazel tov. I'm so proud of you. Right with him.
Welcome and happy Tuesday to the Marlboro Township Board of Education Workshop Meeting, March 7th, 2022, 7 p.m. at the Marlboro Memorial Middle School. Vin, good evening.
Sure. Good evening, Dr.
Can you
Heller.
please
evening.
call to order?
Yes. Good evening, everybody. Roll call vote. Mrs. Amster,
Here.
Mrs. Branch,
Here.
Mr. Petruno,
Here.
Ms. Piernick, Mrs. Rosado,
Here.
Mrs. Shrem,
Here.
Mrs. Salachi,
Here.
Mrs. Strafasi,
Here.
and Dr. Heller.
Here. Everybody looks beautiful. Just want to say that.
We all have teeth and lips and noses.
For any particular reason, I'm not going to say it's all good. Yes. Hold on. Sorry. Okay. I will now read the Sunshine Law. Be advised that this meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231 PL 1975, Sunshine Law, and that adequate notice of date, time, and agenda has been sent to the Asbury Park Press and the news transcript, and has been posted and filed with the Marlboro Township Clerk. Copies have all been sent to each district school and other area newspapers in accordance with the law. Not going to read in full, but will bring your attention to statement of videotaping of public portion of Board of Education meeting, public comments statements, no smoking or vaping on school grounds. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Positive quote. For every minute you are angry, you lose 60 seconds of happiness. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Dr. Hibbs, any announcements?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Not working. How about now? There we go. Yes, sir, Dr. Heller. Thank you very much. First announcement, we are back on for the MTPS Hackathon. So we had communication that went out on March 7th regarding our upcoming hackathon for our middle school students, grades 6 through 8. And what happens in a hackathon, you might ask, it brings teams of students together to collaborate on a project that will make the world a better place. And they have to utilize problem-solving skills and coding skills. So more information is found under the virtual backpack on the district website, and registration closes on Monday, March 14th. So we're excited about that. I also wanted to highlight the fact that Marlboro was just celebrated as an Edmenham Lighthouse District, and we were recognized for our purposeful and systematic use of online programs, our implementation, our fidelity, and then our use of professional development. And I also want to commend Dr. Beery, who is our general education school social worker who works with all of our elementaries. She put together a project that had our staff members commit to a 1% change initiative, and essentially we had over 90 classrooms focus on SEL and mindfulness strategies to really focus on the issue of mindfulness. So this Friday is National SEL Day, so I want to take a second and congratulate Dr. Beery on that hard work. Sir.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Dr. Hibbs, commendation, please.
Yeah. So if I could have Michael Carfero come on up. steal that?
Really cool. Michael, how are you? Good to see you. So, I don't know, this is a kind of an odd way to stand. You're going to look at the side. It's so good.
That's fine.
All right. So, as superintendent of a very, very large district, when things come across me that are just downright special, you have to celebrate them. So, I'm not going to go into the total specifics of what happened here, but suffice it to say that Michael is beyond the right kind of person. Michael's one of our incredible drivers, and he actually pulled his bus over to assist a very, very young child. And in doing that, it's the kind of story that brings chills, you know, to you as a mom, as a dad, as anyone who has a child or a niece or nephew. And I just wanted to say thank you. I wanted to give you a certificate, and I want to shake your hand and tell you the world needs more of you.
Dr. Heller?
Thank you so much.
That was awesome. Thank you so much for everything. Really appreciate it. Another round.
You know what? Seriously. Let me also recognize too, and I was remiss for doing that. I was a little excited to celebrate. Nance and Deb, can you stand up for a sec? So for those of you that don't know, Nancy and Deb are our coordinators and our assistant coordinator for transportation. They've probably logged in 100,000 hours over the last 3 years. So let's give a massive round of applause for them. Yeah. And then Nancy, who also came. Anybody else? Everybody else who came, thank you. Nance, thank you for coming. Nancy's our up front receptionist, and also a driver. So thank you, everybody.
So great.
Thank you so much, seriously, for serving the community. Now, public comments. Those who wish to speak should state their full name and place of residence. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Please use the timer in front to be mindful of your time. Members of the public should be respectful and avoid back and forth or debate with administration, professionals, or board members responding to inquiry or comment. We will respond when necessary once the individual has completed their statement. Again, no back and forth, be respectful and civil. Members will withhold comment until after public comment if they so choose. Vin?
First up is Mrs. Naomi Johnson LaFleur.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Hibbs. I'm also giving greetings to my colleagues and the community. My name is Naomi Johnson LaFleur, 1345, whatever, Hall Township, NJA. So I am the NJA field rep working here with MTEA, and I'd like to begin this evening by saying Happy International Women's Day to everyone, especially the women who are fighting beside the men in Ukraine, those providing health care, and those who are taking care of the children. I'd also like to say Happy International Women's Day to my colleagues and to the educators who give of themselves every day across this nation and in this state. International Women's Day is a reminder. It's an annual reminder of how far we've come, of who we are, and the important work that women do. Today, we live in a country in which women make up about a half of the workforce. And in the teaching profession, women make up 76% of the labor force. So when it comes to schools, you will see us. In addition to educating our students, we are mothers, we are raising children, we are sending them off to college, and some of us are caring for elderly parents. There was a time in this country when women could teach until they got married and had children, and then they would have to leave the profession. But we have moved past that time today. Laws were adopted to protect married women and mothers in the workplace, and the laws protected mothers during their periods of disability, for bonding, and child care. I'm here tonight because I'm sad to say that we are plagued in this district with you trying to take us back in time. So, there was a time when these leaves were run consecutively. The district is now trying to run them concurrently. And so there are several questions for you to consider. Should a woman be forced to choose between being a mother or an educator, or should she have protected rights and be able to be a mother and an educator? Should the health benefits of a young mother with a newborn child be cut off? Please ask yourself, what will be the long-lasting effect of this when you deprive women of time and benefits while we're facing a national teacher shortage? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vin?
Next up is Sasha Grant.
Good evening. Good evening, Board of Ed. My name is Sasha Grant, and I'm a 7th grade student at Marlboro Middle School. As many have heard, a backpack ban has been set forth, disallowing us from utilizing our backpacks during the school day. There is a multitude of reasons why this rule has flaws. To begin, backpacks were designed for students to be able to transport their belongings effectively. With all the bulky materials we have to carry, backpacks are a reliable solution to carry all our supplies. This is especially important for a school with 3 floors. We have backpacks for a reason. Let's not waste that. Furthermore, the alternatives we are expected to use are not reliable. We have 3 main options: carry a tote bag, use a string bag, or carry our books in our hands. In terms of tote bags, having so much weight on one shoulder can be detrimental to one's health, especially someone with back or shoulder problems. Using a string bag isn't so great either. String bags are exceptionally small and can only fit a few books and binders in them. Additionally, they are extremely flimsy and often strain students' shoulders and backs. Finally, holding many books isn't convenient. Many students are irresponsible in the hallways. If someone bumps into you and all your books end up on the floor, how are you going to pick up everything through scurrying feet and still get to class on time? You might say that we can switch our books out in our lockers between classes, but this is unrealistic with our 3-minute break between periods. Many students use up the whole 3 minutes just getting to class in the crowded hallways. All in all, the alternatives to backpacks have major drawbacks. On the other hand, one could argue that these rules have been in place for years and no student has had an issue in following these rules yet. It has been explained to us that these rules were put into place to avoid clutter and so less people trip over backpacks, but this reasoning is flawed. Although the backpacks are big and bulky, drawstring and tote bags are less supported and flail around on the floor. It is almost as likely that someone will trip over one of the alternatives to backpacks. Moreover, some students carry their books. If the books aren't properly balanced wherever the student chooses to put them, it becomes a huge safety hazard, even greater than backpacks. As you can see, there's no valid reason to implement this rule. In the past 2 days, my classmates, Ruchira Nakanti, Morgan Zhang, and I conducted a poll among 114 students in Marlboro Middle School. 99%, or 113 students, said they disagree with the backpack ban. When asked how they feel about alternatives, 52 said they are too small, 48 said they rip easily, 43 said they hurt their shoulders and backs, and 33 said they don't have enough time to exchange books in their lockers between classes. Based on this evidence, we can conclude that backpacks are a reasonable tool for a student to use to transport their belongings, and we should have the choice whether we want to use our backpacks or not. Wasn't school created to teach the students? Why is so much effort put into reinforcing a rule that a majority of the students disagree with? Thank you.
Argumentative essay.
Thank you very much. Vin?
Sure. Next up is Mrs. Bonnie Gabazon.
Good evening, Bonnie Gabazon, Marlboro, New Jersey. It is my understanding that at the last meeting there was a national news network producer and film crew here filming our Marlboro Board of Ed meeting. I have a couple of questions regarding that circumstance, which I did email to the board president and vice president. The response from Mr. Heller was disappointingly vague and incomplete. It was pretty straightforward questions, so I'll reiterate them here in hopes of a more transparent response. So to Mr. Heller and Mrs. Branch, my question is, when did you personally, board president and vice president, become aware that a national news crew would be here at the meeting filming a segment? My second question is, who made you aware of that fact and by what method? Email, phone call, and who asked you? Who told you? In your email response, it only stated that it was, quote, shortly before the meeting commenced, and the second part of my question as to how you became aware was not addressed at all. I'd also like to direct the same questions to Dr. Hibbs, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vin? Oh, nobody else on the list? Okay. Anybody else? Yes. Yeah. Come on.
Leo Davelman, 51 Buttonwood Drive. I just wanted to ask the board to speak to the discussion from the last meeting. There was a very important suggestion that Aldo tabled for a more inclusive, more transparent process when it comes to the critical task of policy making. So I was really hoping to get an update from the board on where those discussions stand. It's critical to the community to regain some trust and some transparency and visibility into the policy-making process, why policies are being changed and when they're being changed, and how sort of some of that all comes about, because it is a cause of great concern. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Vin, nobody else? No? Nobody else? Okay. Motion to close. I'd like to make a motion to close public comment. Do I have a second?
Second.
Who was that?
Jess.
Jess. I have a second on Jess. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Would anyone like to make any comments? Catherine. Oh, and then Aldo, yes.
Can I go first?
Yeah, you go first because I was watching you.
I just wanted to commend Miss Grant. I hope one day when I grow up, I can be as well spoken as you, because we're obviously doing a great job with public speaking, because if I have to be honest, it really was amazing. So kudos to you.
You don't have to apologize. That was good. Aldo?
Actually, I'm just going to piggyback off of what Kathleen said. That was an impressive comment, and actually to turn it to a question to the board, what's the or perhaps the administration, why are book bags not allowed? Is it a security issue, or what's the?
It's actually probably, yep, got it. So there's a couple issues. And I even touched base with Mr. Pacifico and Mrs. Nowaki even today on this issue. So if every child carried a book bag, and if you've never walked our halls at dismissal, you're more than welcome to come see that. It adds a lot of volume to the actual hallways, the book bags. That's number one. Number two, kids absolutely, and Mrs. Nowaki even put this in writing to me today, kids can go to their lockers whenever they need to go to their locker to exchange books, and we work with kids. And then we also offer the concept of the tote and or a shoulder bag for a child. So in this world, and has occurred in this world security-wise, everybody having a bag is honestly a concern. So those are the main reasons: the volume, the sheer volume, And we do navigate some questions at times about bags, but both middle schools right now are honestly getting along without bags. Now, I'm happy, and Sasha, you did a great job of speaking. I'm not quite sure who you have for ELA, but they should be very proud. Your essay was amazing. I'm happy to go back and have a follow-up conversation with Mr. Pacifico and Mrs. Nowaki about this, to get their thoughts. But yeah, that was the administrative call.
Oh, okay. Go.
Jen?
I'll go after you.
I also have been told by a few people that they're not allowed to go back to their lockers, and they've not had books prepared, and not just by my own kid, but by others.
Got it.
Because they weren't allowed and they didn't have time to go back to their lockers. So I'm glad that you did bring it up. Yeah. And I thought you did a very good job too.
Yeah, and that would not be acceptable. So
right.
You can't say you can't have a bag and then say that you can't go back to your locker.
Right. And I've had some bring their lunch and not be able to go and get it. So then they had to buy and they didn't want to buy anyway.
Got it.
So
I'll touch base with
If we don't mind.
Yeah, I'll touch base with Mrs. Nowaki and
Awesome.
Mr. Pacifico. We can actually, we'll have a face-to-face conversation about this and talk about the concept of lunches, going back to lockers, and the concept of book bags in general.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Christina.
I just, again, I have to, as an ELA teacher myself, I mean, the argumentative essay with the arguments, counter-arguments, I was just blown away. So you would get an A in my class. But I did have that same question. Do they have approximately how many minutes between passing? 3 minutes?
I think that's about accurate, yeah.
And then wouldn't, having them go to the lockers to get their books in those 3 minutes promote more children loitering in the hallways rather than getting to class in a prompt manner?
I mean, it could.
Okay. I know for myself, I have back problems. So, my pocketbook is one of the reasons why I have back problems. And so holding it on my shoulder, my physical therapist always says a backpack is better because it distributes the weight evenly. So I can really appreciate what Ms. Grant is saying.
Sure. I'm happy to go back to Mr. Pacifico and Mrs. Nowaki and have a conversation.
Thank
Certainly.
you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Just that you did a great job.
Yeah.
I'll echo that. Really, really nice.
A+.
I do want to, I was going to leave this over until policy and development, but since the question was brought up by a member of the community, I do want to address it. So after our last meeting, I called another meeting of the policy committee to discuss Aldo's suggestion. The suggestion was to change the way the board does business, specifically related to policy and to make it a committee as a whole. The idea was to look at policy differently than all other responsibilities and to abolish the work of the policy committee. This idea was discussed last week with the members of the policy committee with addition to our vice president, Mrs. Branch, because of her executive role. Dr. Hibbs represented the administration. As we strive to run the board in an efficient and effective way, abolishing the work of the policy committee would be a big change. Some community members have voiced concerns that under new leadership, we have been acting too quickly in making sweeping changes to existing policies. We are mindful of all concerns and respect all views. During the committee meeting, we considered the argument of abolishing the policy committee, and after thoughtful exchange of ideas, the discussion revealed that the way we review policy was effective and efficient as currently designed. So let's review the current process of policy discussions. New policies or changes to existing policies generally happen in two ways. Most commonly, policies are advanced by the state of New Jersey or Strauss-AFSME. They alert our district when changes to policy are required. The other way is driven by board members asking for policy to be reviewed, which happens during the new business part of any board meeting. These policies are then added to the policy committee agenda for review and discussion. We utilize the first read, final read philosophy. This process is one the New Jersey School Boards Association recommended. as it offers two opportunities for the entire Board of Education to offer input. It is an efficient way to review policies. With the initial review within the committee, the two additional discussions among the entire board in public. This process ensures that discussion happens in public. It is a transparent process. In addition, and as a reminder, for every committee, the chair will email the members of the Board of Education to ask for any additional items to be added to the next committee agenda. Any member can place an item on the agenda for discussion. In addition, each member of the Board of Education is shared on each agenda, giving all members transparency into what's happening in all committees. As a final comment, no, that was not that. Nope, sorry. That was it for next, for what I want to say. So that was my response to the board and to the member of the committee, community. Yes, please.
Another thing, so for the NJSBA, I was on I had to write it down, it's a wind down meeting, and I did bring that up because they had a whole thing on policy, and I asked what they thought about it and if it's done anywhere else, and they say it is not done anywhere else where they do it here. They usually have a committee, and then the committee brings it back, and they said they don't recommend doing that because it would be more like that, like it would be a lot of, too many heads basically is what he was saying. There'd be too many heads and it would be a long time. It would take hours if we needed to change something, and then we have to keep changing and then voting on the change. So that's what they were telling me in the NJSBA workshop that I attended.
Jen, what do you mean a committee? Do you mean our
Guys, one at a time,
I
please.
know, I didn't hear. I'm so
Policy
sorry.
committee.
No.
I think we have the same question. If I'm not
Too many
mistaken.
cooks
in the kitchen. Is that
Too
what
many
you mean by
cooks in the
too many
kitchen.
heads? Okay, that's
Too
what-
many heads.
So
Yeah.
who are the people bringing it back? Like
The
like
policy
policy
committee.
committee?
Yeah, or whatever committee. That's what the NJSBA told me. I just thought I'd bring that up.
Okay. Jill, did you have something? I'm sorry.
No, that was it.
I just want to make sure
when
that
she
we're
said
all.
too many heads. It was just too many. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean
Too many cooks in the kitchen, sorry.
Yeah, too many cooks in the kitchen. It's all good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm just gonna real quick. I actually, I think we all received, I'm not sure if everyone got it or if it was just me, but I received an email from a community member saying that in showing an example of a workshop meeting that Old Bridge has, and I believe it's titled a Curriculum and Special Services Committee meeting, but they hold it at the library and it's open to the public. They actually have one this week, which I'm planning on attending to see how it's run. I don't know if you guys have more info on it than I do, but it sounds like it sounds like something that we should potentially look at and see if we can try and incorporate, if it is what I'm thinking, because it has the committee members there, and at the same time it gives anyone from the community that would want to come and share their input or experience or recommendations, if it's what I'm thinking it is, which it's on Thursday night. If anyone wants to attend, I can share the information. I appreciate you going back to the committee and coming back. I don't really agree with the information that you just, or the response that was just provided, but that being said, perhaps we could look at this committee meeting that Old Bridge is doing and see if it's something that we could try and.
Aldo, is it a committee meeting specifically on policy?
Actually, I have a response if you want, because I was going to wait till after the end, but I have a response for you because as a final comment, a community member brought to the attention, so I wanted to piggyback on that, that we are looking into it and we will evaluate the productivity of such meeting, and we'll review this at the next committee meeting, so we have more to come with that. Yeah.
And again, I'm not sure, because this is something new, but is it more of like an open forum where there's almost like brainstorming between community and board and kind
Well,
of?
I can tell you that I've gotten information about it, and they have their meetings in public, committee meetings in public. I also checked with the surrounding districts, because that's one district. Nobody except for one other district does open committees. Old Bridge does have it. They have been using it for several years. The public does have the opportunity to speak in public, and that is something that they have been doing. But as I said, I took it very seriously when the member of the community sent that out. I did my due diligence to find out about that, and we have not discussed it in the policy committee, but we certainly will be taking it back to the policy committee to discuss. But it is something for discussion, so it was taken seriously.
Yeah, because even if it was something as simple as like even quarterly, where there's like a town hall meeting where we can engage in a more casual conversation with the public and hear their thoughts, that might be something that I think would be advantageous for everyone.
Again, we're not saying, I'm not saying,
No,
or nor the committee is saying. It's just a matter of understanding it a little better.
Absolutely.
And I did my due diligence to find out what it's about. One of their committees is not in public, but their others are. And I did my due diligence as far as finding out districts around the area, and there's only one, and it's limited in fashion.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that is something for us to discuss and go back and forth and see, understand it a little better.
Get more information.
Yeah, get more information.
Mm-hmm.
But it was based on a individual's email.
I think it's an interesting concept. Yeah, I am not able to attend on Thursday, although I would have joined you. I can't do that, but I hope that you can feed back, and if anyone else can go, I think it's an interesting idea. I mean, listen, my goal is to always run efficiently and effectively. If that can happen in that type of setting, I think it's something to consider.
Yeah, I mean, personally, it feels like when when items have to get taken back to the committee, it just seems like a good way to diffuse the situation without really.
But we have been reactive in discussing it, so we're not letting it languish. I think some of the feedback is that we're maybe moving too fast. So I think we're just trying to take all of that into consideration, because we are responsive. I mean, I hope you don't feel like. We are addressing all the concerns. I believe.
I hope you see the irony that I was asking for the policies to be discussed, in a town hall type setting, and the response was that we'll take it back to the committee and then get back to you.
But that is process and protocol, and that's how that works.
Yeah, that's how committees work.
And that's what I was asking to change. Thank
Fair.
you.
Sure.
So, any other discussion? I see none. Hold on, please. No. I gotta go to that. Okay. So moving on, we're going to talk Dr. Hibbs, harassment, intimidation, bullying, HIB report for February 17th to March 2nd, 2022, please.
One incident, sir.
Thank you very much.
One incident.
Approval of minutes resolution, please. Kathleen, can you please read approval of minutes?
Be it resolved, the minutes of the following meetings be approved as submitted. February 8th, 2022, workshop and executive. I so move.
Do I have a second, please?
I second.
That's Jill. Do I have any discussion? I see none. Roll call, please.
Ma'am, you don't have a right to yell out, please.
We responded by email, and that was our response. I don't know what we were going back and forth for. You received my response? (2022-23) school year budget roundtable. Vinny, can you please?
We have to roll call
we have to
vote
do
first.
the. Thank you.
Roll call.
Yep.
Mrs. Branch,
Yes.
Mr. Petruno,
Yes.
Ms. Piernick,
Yes.
Mrs. Rosado,
Yes.
Mrs. Shrem,
Yes.
Mrs. Salachi,
Yes.
Mrs. Strafasi,
Yes.
Mrs. Amster,
Yes.
and Dr. Heller.
Yes. Vinny, can you please start the 2022-23 school year budget roundtable, please?
Yep, so the state aid address is scheduled for March 8th still. We should have our state aid numbers by March 10th. We did meet with a few board members that decided to have one-on-one meetings where we went over the budget in depth. The meetings lasted over an hour and a half, close to 2 hours, but I think it was pretty informative for everybody who attended. The budget is not due until the preliminary deadline, which is March 22nd board meeting, so I'm still hosting any types of one-on-one sessions any board members would like to have, any questions that you still would like answered. Right now, it has not changed from what was originally sentimented to you through the budget binders and through the presentations, but I would also open it now to any questions that you may have, because the next meeting would be the tentative budget approval. And again, if you would like to set up a meeting one-on-one, I'm available as well for that. Mrs. Amster.
I just wanted to thank you and Chris for taking the time out. I know I had a lot of questions, and you answered all of them. And if you didn't answer them, you got back to me, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
I'm thanking you as well because I took an extraordinary amount of time with all of my questions, and you answered every single one of them, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Vinny's the best. You're just
Any-
the best,
any-
that's all I'm saying. You're the best.
No problem. Yeah, again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out. And again, we can always schedule another meeting or a meeting if you would like to discuss anything further.
I just had one question.
Sure.
In addition to the 9,000 we had. So I know that we were purchasing iPads for kindergarten, and that was within the budget. And I was just wondering, as a teacher, I know I use a grant writing program called Donors Choose. Has the district ever explored that as an option of saving money in some areas? I know, like, I've written grants to get a classroom set of iPads or laptops, and people from the public, you can share it on social media, and companies fund it, and it's all donations for classrooms, but it's, you know, a nice little way to save money and get what we need. Has that ever been explored?
Yeah, we do utilize Donors Choose. We have in the past on select items, sometimes with software and technology. Sometimes the license alone is more valuable than the actual device. So sometimes we need to purchase new or refurbished as long as the license still comes with it. Sometimes through Donors Choose, the license stays with the owner. It's not always transferable, so we try to keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Anybody else, please? Thank you, Vin. Trish, can you please read financial and business operation matters?
The superintendent of schools submits the following resolutions for approval. 1, HIB report. 2, approval of pathway and lighting agreement. 3, out-of-district placement. 4, amended resolution approval of agreement with Oxford Consulting Services. 5, amended resolution application to participate in SEMI for the 22-23 school year. I so move.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Jen, any discussion? I see none. Vin, roll call, please.
Sure. Mrs. Strafasi?
Yes.
Mrs. Amster?
Yes.
Mr. Petruno?
Yes.
Ms. Piernick?
Yes.
Mrs. Rosado?
Yes.
Mrs. Shrem?
Yes.
Mrs. Salachi?
Yes.
Mrs. Branch?
Yes.
And Dr. Heller?
Yes. Jess, can you please read Policy Development and Community Relations Matters?
Sure. The superintendent of schools submits the following resolution for approval. 1, second readings. Board, I so move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
That's Susie. Any discussion?
I had a member of the community ask if we print out what we're voting on so we have it as part of the agenda. I just thought I'd bring that up because when it's 1 or 2, I think that's probably easy to do, but when we have like 20 that we're approving, that might be a little onerous, but if the community members wanted to see what we were revising, it's online, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Okay. So it is up online. So just wanted to bring that up. Thank you for the suggestion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? I see none. Vin, roll call, please.
Sure. Mrs. Salachi?
Yes.
Mrs. Trafasi?
Yes.
Mrs. Amster?
No for 1, 6, 7, and yes for the others.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Branch?
Yes.
Mr. Petruno?
143, yes. 152, yes. 155, yes. 167, no.
Okay. Ms. Piernick?
Yes.
Mrs. Rosado?
Yes.
Mrs. Shrem?
Yes.
Mrs. Salachi?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I think I got you already.
She can't vote twice. That's not allowed.
Mrs. Branch?
Yes.
And Dr. Heller?
Yes. Old business. Anyone have any old business?
I have something.
Susie.
So a community member at the last meeting brought up playground safety. And we had our B&G meeting on February 25th. And lots of notes from it. We could talk about that if anyone's interested. But the one thing that I did want to mention was we did talk about playground safety. We had a discussion on it. They're going to take a look at Robertsville and Dugan, which were the two that were in question. So that is definitely being looked at. One thing that we discussed that I wanted everyone to be aware of is that we have a risk adjuster come out every year and take a look at all the playgrounds at all of our buildings. And they just assess the equipment, the safety of it, making sure that it's up to date and up to code. We actually haven't had that. Last year, I think it was, because of COVID and they weren't coming out and taking a look, but we will be bringing one out this calendar year, and we will start that up again every calendar year. So just keep in mind that we do have it assessed every year, and we're very well aware of, our safety needs and concerns. So just addressing that for the public, we did talk about it, and it is something that we do look at.
I have a question. Am I allowed to ask?
Yeah, go, Jess.
So was anything decided for sure, or are we waiting for the adjuster to come out?
Well, the adjuster is going to come out. We did talk about Robertsville and Dugan, which were the two that was in question. So for Robertsville, and I can let Vinny extend on this a little bit, but for Robertsville, we're talking about the fencing and the regrounding of the asphalt, and that's something that they're going to correct over the summer. And then with Dugan, they talked about the fencing. Or I think the fencing was what was brought up, and they said that they never had a concern, but they're going to start the discussions to see how we can adjust it to make it work and make it more safe. So that's what was discussed for those two. And then with the risk adjuster, I guess Vinny, when he is scheduled at the next B&G meeting, we could discuss it, and then we'll bring it back to the forefront and just let you know the results of that.
Yes, correct. So the
Okay.
insurance company will do a courtesy inspection of the playgrounds if we ask.
Yeah, yes. So we'll bring it up as we have our next bunch of discussions on it.
I think Robertsville was a definite go with the fence.
Yes.
And Dugan was not a go because there was not the same concern. Robertsville went to the road, and we figured extending the playground fence to the tree line just made perfect sense. Dugan's tree line goes really nowhere, to the middle of nowhere, and it would take hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of feet to do that, and we didn't see that as being an issue. But Robertsville
Definitely is happening,
Yeah.
and that's happening this summer.
Yeah, I don't know that we have a specific time frame, but last time Vinny and I, it was a go.
It was a go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Kathleen?
I don't see it on the agenda. Are we discussing our committees that we're on? Because I have some stuff happening tomorrow. Only because MMS has 2 things tomorrow, and I wanted to promote it a little bit.
Go.
Okay. Tomorrow, the 8th grade committee, dance committee, is hosting a Dining for Dollars at Burger Bros. It is all day. So if you just mention MMS and you want to take out burgers, it's all day. They're also running, the same committee is also running the St. Patrick's Day raffle, closing on March 16th. Yearbook deadline is the 15th. If you haven't ordered, you cannot order after the 15th of March for this is for MMS, please. Yeah. Tomorrow is also 9:45, PTO meeting in person. And if you want any information, they have a beautiful website, marlboromiddlepto@gmail.com. You can ask any questions. Lisa, the president, she's amazing.
She is.
Could I do my other thing? Sorry. The Special Education Committee met last Friday at 3:18 p.m. Dr. Blair, Ms. Mortar, Ms. McCarty, Mr. Facci, Ms. Piernick were all in attendance. We worked on the mission and vision together. We haven't totally set that, but it was kind of like a group effort. Did really well. Some things to look forward in the spring. April is Disability Awareness Month. We're having a virtual assembly from grades 2 to 8 with author Timothy Rohrer. In the younger grades, we're doing more of the book Giraffes Can't Dance. We're going to be having they're going to be doing a personal biography of how to learn about embracing differences and challenges and loving all that stuff. Things to look forward to this summer: ESY, Pull-Out Resource Summer Support, more information to follow. And we are finally getting communication playground boards, have been ordered for, the ELC is getting 2, Defino, Dugan, and Robertsville. That's all phase 1. Phase 2, which is, I asked her, Dr. Blair said it's definitely happening. That will be the other schools, but these are the initial phase 1s, and hopefully they're going in this summer. As with everything, supply chain, we're just waiting for them to come in.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That was very good. Anybody else?
Are we on new
go.
business?
Go.
Okay.
Go. You might as well piggyback.
I'm piggybacking on what you just did because there are some things that are happening in the township, and I'm the township liaison, so I didn't want to miss it because it's our next meeting is after. So anyway, I know that it's always been a problem with Optimum because I see everybody upset on I am Verizon, but for people that have issues with Optimum, there will be an online town hall committee with management level employees of Optimum. They will be able to answer questions and help troubleshoot any specific concerns that you have if you are having connectivity problems. The meeting is going to take place on Monday, March 14th at 6 p.m. So you can either call in, log in online, or sign in through the WebEx Meetings app. But if you are having connective issues with Optum, then this is a good opportunity to go and address that. Obviously, we've got summer around the corner. Doesn't feel like today, but yesterday it did. And the summer camp registration is open, as is the swim club registration as well. And to piggyback on parks, since that was, or recreation, I should say, the Nolan Road Park is undergoing improvements. So just, understand that there's going to be closures out there. But once it's done, it's going to be great.
Okay, now I have to say.
Yes, go ahead, Jill.
Because I can't let the Dugan Dragons be left out. Tomorrow is this PTA meeting tomorrow night, 7:30, and one of my favorite events of the year, semi-annual, is the book fair. Book fair is Monday. Love the book fair. So there you go. I'm very excited. I love it more than my son. I do. I love the book
That's
fair.
TMI.
I spend a fortune, even when I volunteer.
All right.
That's passionate. I like that. Jess?
We had a communications meeting last Tuesday. Aldo was on it, myself, Dr. Hibbs, Trisha Branch, and Mrs. Gross. So congratulations to Mrs. Salachi for completing the requirements of Level 1 of the Board Member Academy program. And there is going to be a newsletter after every single regular board meeting that takes place to let the community know of anything that was different or what was voted on. And then if we need to clarify anything after a workshop meeting, that will be done with links in the newsletter that comes out after the board meeting as well. So that's something to streamline communication with the community about what has happened at board meetings, just in case somebody is not able to come out.
Very nice. Okay. Anybody else?
I was gonna say.
Okay.
Well, only because, yeah, we met for the first time today for our Safety, Security, and Counseling Committee, and I just kind of thought it was important. And it won't come up on my computer, so.
We trust you, don't we?
Goner's choose. We got you.
So we actually, okay, so we had me, Dr. Heller, and Christina, and then we had Dana Tardio, Dana Blair, Dr. Hibbs. Mr. Balone was not there, but Tom Slattery was there, and Vinny was there. So we worked on our mission. Do you want me to read the mission? This is my first time being a chair. Okay, so we worked on our mission, and the mission is, the mission of the Marlboro Township Safety, Security, and Counseling Committee is to successfully assess, plan, and address both current and future needs regarding safety and security, counseling, and social, emotional, and behavioral well-being in the district. And then our vision, we believe that all students and staff should be and feel safe and secure in our MTPS buildings. We also believe in the importance of the concepts of school counseling for our students and social, emotional, and behavioral well-being for our students and staff. So we worked on that together. And then we talked about the fence, which you already said. We talked about counseling and how there's classroom lessons by the counselors. There's MTPS SEL character pillars, which are up there, and we go over those. We have drills, cameras. We were talking about everything. Mental health. We talked about the commit to 1% challenge, the mindfulness. We did lifeline suicide prevention. We talked about Columbia Screener, the summer check-in form, and a wraparound counseling service. Wow, we talked about a lot of stuff.
Well check too.
Pilot of WellCheck at Asher and Robertsville, and they want to go into all the schools, which I think is going to be amazing. And that's for the students. So the students check in with that. And then we talked about the current district and school level committees. So within the schools, they have a medical emergency response team called MERT. They have a school improvement panel. They have a school safety, school climate team, and they have district and school level crisis response teams. So that's all within. So it's a lot, and it's great. I think it's great stuff that we have. And we're going to keep on going. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Sorry.
If I could just ask a question. Would that committee be the committee, who would we ask to look at the backpack thing? Just, is that committee that would review that?
No, it's me.
It's you?
Yes, me.
All right.
It's administrative.
Yeah, if you can, because that just, I'm thinking about it, just doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, okay. I already
I appreciate
clearly
it.
stated
Thank you.
I would definitely do that. On it, 100%.
Good. Anybody else? No? Any new business? I see none. Okay. Now on to public comments. Before I do that, I sincerely want to apologize to Mrs. Garbazon. I was not intending on, in any shape or form, ignoring you. It wasn't. It came off that. I want to apologize. I want to say sorry, because it came off as however it came off, and I sincerely apologize. I was not intending on ignoring your comment. I was not trying to avoid it. It came off that way, and I sincerely apologize. So that's all I wanted to say about that. Okay? That was it. Those who speak should state their full name and place of residence. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Please use the timer in front to be mindful of your time. Members of the public should be respectful and avoid back and forth or debate with administration, professionals, or board members responding to the inquiry or comments. We will respond when necessary once the individual has completed their statements. Again, no back and forth. Be respectful and civil. Members will hold comment until after the public comments if they so choose. Vinny, do you have anybody?
Sure. First up is Mrs. Farabono.
Good evening, Farabono, 26 Nashua Drive, Marlboro. Dr. Heller, you asked for me to come back, and I am back. Good evening, Dr. Heller, Dr. Hibbs, members of the board, my fellow community members, my fans at home on YouTube, and fans in the room. I wanted to first thank my colleague from the NJEA for coming tonight, and I just want to bring the board's attention back to the negative impact that we are having on new mothers relative to leave time within our district. And, you know, I am woman, hear me roar, and you can hear me roar in numbers too big to ignore. And on today, International Day of Women, we have to remember to honor women in the workplace and not create hardships for young women who want to have a family, who are educating our students, our children, my children who went through this district, and yours. So please take a look around, ask the employees, ask your staff, and include them in this decision making. And hip, hip, hooray, I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great night.
Entertaining as always, thank you. Vin?
Sure. Mrs. Ashley McCormick.
Ashley McCormick, 16 Riley Road. I know Ms. Gabazon came up and asked a bunch of questions. She brought it publicly to the mic. You guys may have emailed your response to her, but now that it's public, I'd like to know the answers. I think that's the point of speaking publicly. Also, to touch on the whole workshop for policies and workshop for possibly curriculum. How do I explain this? Obviously transparency, yes, we want that. But what about, like, how many times did you guys have to amend in the last couple of months? Like the sex ed curriculum, you guys amended that because the community was upset with specific verbiage. So if we had a workshop before you guys voted and there was more transparency, more understanding of it before the vote, we wouldn't have to amend after. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vin?
Sure. Next is Mr. Leo Davelman.
Leo Davelman, 51 Buttonwood Drive. I was here for the last meeting. I saw a guy with a camera running around. I had no idea that person was part of any national media outlet. I knew nothing about this until just now, but having heard the question and the response, I ask you to please dedicate time in this public forum to tell me, not Ms. Gabazon, exactly what national media was doing here, exactly when you became aware of them being here, and by what method you became aware. I asked Ms. Branch separately to take the time to tell me when you became aware that that person would be here, that they were from national media, and by what method you became aware. And I just want to let you guys know that as bad as this already is, any attempt to be anything other than transparent about this will be absolutely disastrous. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Vin?
Next up is Mrs. Bonnie Gabazon.
Bonnie Gabazon, Marlboro. I've been coming to meetings for 10 years. If I haven't been to at least 50 meetings, I haven't been to one, I would challenge you to go back and find video of one meeting where I've been anything but respectful, involved, come up here and ask questions professionally and with respect. And I'm glad to hear that the disrespect was a mistake and, you know, that you didn't mean it to come off that way. So thank you for that. Again, I was going to just get up and reiterate the questions, but since you already replied to me in email, which I don't mind reading, but other members of the community have very simple questions. Because also in my 10 years, I've never attended a meeting and seen a film crew. I'm kind of an astute person. I know a local media, local reporter is here, and this was a big setup, and it just kind of raised questions for me around that, because at a time when we're trying to not be divisive in our community and we're moving on, you know, felt like a setup. Okay. The questions, I'll just read how they were answered. And yeah. Dear board members, again, my emails are respectful. Dear board members, I have a question for the board president and vice president. When and how did you first become aware that a CBS television crew would be attending the Board of Ed meeting? Thank you in advance for your reply. And my only response was from Mr. Heller. Bonnie, hope all is well with the family. The board members found out about that CBS was attending shortly before our meeting commenced on 2/22. Randy. So as I said, it was vague and it was incomplete, and now that it's been asked multiple times, I hope you'll take the time to answer with respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Vin?
Sure, next up is Mrs. Carrie Jankowski.
Hi, how are you? Carrie Jankowski, 25 Whitman Road. Over the last few months, not the last couple meetings, I came to talk highly of staff members that I've met through my time here in this district. I'm going to take you back in time to when you were all trying to get your first jobs. I remember sitting down with my dad and going through mock interviews, and I remember, you know, him asking me practice questions. Why should we give you this job? What can you do for us? You remember that time? And I would say, well, I come to work on time and I'm honest. And he was like, Kara, that's what you should be. Why should we hire you? Everyone should come to work on time. Everyone should be honest, right? And you really struggle with, how do I answer this question? I've come up to the microphone month after month to talk about staff members that when they're asked that question, they can rattle off lists of things they do above and beyond their job. And that always stuck with me when I was trying to get a job, and interview after interview of trying to get a job, of how does one answer a question like that? How do you go above and beyond? And in this district, I have met phenomenal staff members. And I've talked about many of them over the last few months. One is here, Mrs. Bono, who made such a difference in my child's life and my own. I've talked about Mrs. Marion. I've talked about Nurse Dietz and Ms. Kirkwood, Dr. Baskin, Mrs. Talley, and the list goes on. I can talk about Vinny from Food Services. I apologize, I don't remember his last name, but my son's a Vinny, so that's how I know. And the man is above and beyond. So I'm a teacher, and I was working virtual, and I was working 7 o'clock at night for students who couldn't attend during the day, and that man would bring me food out to my car when it was free lunches. That man came out in the rain with his Yankee attire. I drew to him immediately because of that, with always a smile on his face, always a good word to say, always, you know, when he found out I was a teacher, he's like, this gives me such an honor to bring this to your car. That's above and beyond. That man is phenomenal. That man brought my family lunches when I was too busy to make them. We've all been there, don't judge. So I want to talk about him. Mrs. Monica Hart was my first experience as a teacher in this district when we moved. My son was in 3rd grade. To make my son feel comfortable, she did a joint project with my classroom, towns away, to feel a part of something. She thought outside the box. She went above and beyond. And Dr. Tardio, it's not easy to be a vice principal. You deal with all the discipline, correct?
Correct.
Right?
Yeah,
all the discipline, not fun. And she's called me so many times, thinks outside the box, always has a positive, I know, always has a positive word to say. So my request to the board is, when people like me, because I've heard others, have positive things to say, I think it would be lovely if those teachers got an email from the board president or the board saying, hey, just a heads up, you were spoken about highly at the board
Yeah,
meeting.
thank you very much.
I'm going to end, sir, I promise. So I was just wondering if that's something that the board can do, is when they hear positive things, they can reach out to the staff members who this community stands on and thank them.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Vin.
Sure, next up is Mrs. Deborah Venedum.
Deborah Venedum, 25 McHugh Road, Morganville. I was not at the last board meeting. However, I do have a background in TV and film production. I actually worked for Sally Jesse Raphael. One question I have is why wasn't there a sign out at the entrance, which normally happens even when I worked at Sally Jesse Raphael, people knew they were coming to watch a TV show being filmed. There was not a single sign out in the front announcing a national news crew. Or maybe if we're updating policies, maybe it's time to create a policy. Hopefully this won't happen again, but it's not normal to have a national news crew in here without the community knowing that they're being filmed for something. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vin?
That is it on both my lists.
Okay, thank you. Sorry? Oh, go on.
Can I come up to show you something? Can I come up to show you something?
You wanna? Yeah.
Technically, the board secretary.
Yeah, he's in
Come on
charge.
up. Come on up.
Oh, right here, Mrs.
I
Grant.
believe you, 100%. Yeah, I believe you. Yeah. What we'll do is, and I already have email crafted. So what I'll do is I'll sit down with Mrs. Nowaki and Mr. Pacifico, have the conversation about book bags, and we'll literally kick that conversation all the way around. Yeah, I don't doubt you. Good job. You did a great job. You did. You spoke well. You're great. Your essay is going to take you places. You're going places in life, kid. Absolutely. And that's how change happens. I'll go back and I'll have a conversation. And you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I already sent the email to Pat and John too, so we're done.
Good evening, Moshe Grant, 8 Sudbury Road. I was not actually planning to speak tonight. I'm just a driver today, so that was an amusing and an interesting one. But with that being said, I just got to make a note over here, and I don't really need an answer. It just sounds like the committee over here is pretty much making decisions for the board members, and we're just trying to figure out how exactly does that work. But thank you so much. That was interesting.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to close public comment. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have Jill. Yeah, all in favor? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Okay, would anybody, so now to move forward, would anybody like to make any comments? Dr. Hibbs?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I can talk about how CBS came on my end. I received an email on the 21st, which was President's Day, and I was in South Carolina with my son, so I didn't respond back until Tuesday in the afternoon, asking if it was a definite, asking for a definite. I received an email back around 5:40 that it was definite, and then I emailed the board shortly in front of 6 o'clock that it was going to occur. So that's my time frame. And so CBS Sunday Morning reached out and they were doing an overall COVID story. That's really what they were doing, and they asked if they could, come to the meeting and then have a perspective. So after that meeting, I was reached out to if I wanted to actually have an interview, which I took. That's my part of it. And then as far as the concept of moving forward, putting a sign on the door. No one told me that we had to do that. They didn't share that as a best practice, but I'll be happy to make sure that happens going forward.
And just to piggyback on Dr. Hibbs's comments, it's a public meeting. We're live streaming the meeting. It's on YouTube. People are here in the front filming. So people, when they come, I understand your point, but when people come to a public meeting, there's really no expectation of privacy such that we would have to tell people that a particular news outlet is here filming. So I understand your point, but again, it's a public meeting that's being broadcast live right now.
Kathleen?
I just wanted to, Miss Kerry Jankowski came up here and said all the wonderful things she said about our teachers and our staff. It should be noted that Miss Jankowski is also the Teacher of the Year in her district.
Ah.
So, congratulations.
Congratulations.
That's very nice. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Carrie. You're always very kind. Thank you so much.
That was beautiful. Anybody else with comments?
I mean, I guess, you want to go?
No, go ahead.
Go, Trish.
No, I just, since I was asked directly, the board president is our spokesperson. When he replied, I didn't feel like I had anything else to add because that's basically what I knew. I got an email along with the board members saying that there was a crew coming. And truthfully, I didn't actually see the emails, so I learned of it when I saw it here, but I was emailed just prior to the meeting along with everybody else. So the board president is the board spokesperson. When he addressed your question directly, I didn't feel like I needed to say the exact same thing. So if you took that as an affront, I'm very sorry. I do try to respond. Again, when I respond, I'm just trying to acknowledge emails because technically it is the board president that is the spokesperson, and I respect that.
Thank you, Trish.
Yeah, and one last thing, Carrie. Thank you you spoke about so many people. You really said some very nice things about Vinny Palmero. Yeah, there you go. You're good. He is a massive Yankees fan. Is one of the best human beings ever. Vinny, for those of you that don't know, has been part of our fabric for over 2 decades with Chartwell's. He's our director of dining services, and Vinny's work ethic is always 175%, but with COVID, there was no initiative too big or too small, and that could be, we figured out how to get food delivered to front steps, right? He worked with Township you won't know this, he actually helped deliver prescriptions to people that couldn't leave the house. So he's just one of those fabulous human beings you hope to be blessed enough to come across once in a lifetime, and we get them every day. So I'm going to give Vinny a massive shout and a hand. Thank you, Carrie, and congratulations. I'm sure it's well deserved.
Anybody else for comments? Aldo?
Yeah, I just had a question, and I'm sorry if it's something I should know, but for the 2 commenters that brought up the maternity leave or whatnot, is there like what was the what exactly were they speaking to?
So those comments relate to a pending legal matter that we're going to discuss tonight in closed session, so I'd prefer not to have it out here. Okay. It was part of the plan to bring the board up to speed in our closed session tonight.
Understood.
Yep.
I just didn't.
Yeah, that's a fair question.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No? Okay. So now on to executive session. Be it resolved that in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, the Marlboro Township Board of Education shall conduct a closed executive session prudent to the exceptions prescribed by NJSA 10-4-12 for the purpose of discussing matters of attorney-client privilege and personnel matters. It is anticipated the length of the time of this executive session will be 45 minutes, and that action will not be taken in public after the executive session. Be it further resolved that the minutes of executive session will be released when the need of confidentiality in accordance with NJSA 10-4-12 no longer applies. Can I have a motion to go into executive session?
A motion.
Jen, can I have a second?
I'll second.
Christina?
Oh.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Thank you. Have a good evening. Be safe and healthy.